And I'm sure...
Can I just say something? Okay.
Sure.
There are lots of reality shows. This is about entrepreneurship, dropouts. We'll keep that aside. Let's talk about the reality show Dropout Private Limited. Many channels have reality shows. They get seasoned performers, actors, choreographers, directors, singers, people who work in the industry to come and sit on the panel and to interact with the kids. I think they should also all sit down and watch Dropout Private Limited, watch these three to see how it's done. Really, I am very proud to have anything to do with launching these three talents on Indian television. And I'm telling you, it is a launch for your talent that you're doing it. And that's, you're going to say the same thing when you see this show. I mean that.
Thank you.
So these masters, they're basically going to be searching for diamonds in the rough. They're going to be making the entrepreneurs ready for that world outside. And while we're all here, why don't we have a little photo op for all the people and the biggest dropouts of the world, Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat. Let's all post for that. This one's for you.
You see it?
I'm going to continue now. Okay, so I'm sure a lot of you have a lot of questions already buzzing in your head, but before that, I have questions. So I'm going to point them to the masters. Anisha, you're giving some serious...
I always go first. Yeah, ladies first, wala chakkar has to stop at some point.
So I'll stop.
I'm kidding. No, please.
Okay,
please.
Anisha, you're giving some serious career goals to all the young women out there in the country. And now you're in a television show encouraging the spirit further. You want to tell us why you decided to be a part of the show?
For exactly that reason. You just answered it for me. When MTV and these guys showed up, and I didn't know much about them. Maybe I would have rethought this. I'm kidding. They're awesome.
We researched. Only go to people who have never heard of us.
But, it was for this reason. I became an entrepreneur because I saw a female entrepreneur and I said, I want to be her. She could do 30 push-ups. She had 2 amazing kids. She ran a phenomenal company. I can do 15 push-ups, but I'm almost there. And I just, if you can inspire that. And we've seen some really cool women come through the show. They're amazing. The spirit that you see is just phenomenal. So very, very encouraging. Love it. Love being a part of the show.
Wow. Okay. And Sandeep, how about you? Like, how do you define the spirit of being an entrepreneur? Like, how do you define an entrepreneur? Let's just try that.
Well, for a very simple question, actually, I don't have a very simple answer, but it's a very nice question.
I love that about him. He never has his simple questions, but please,
yeah.
I'd love to hear this.
So, so I think, see, entrepreneur is, I think, the real test of human resilience. It's a test of human obsession. It's a test of deep belief in yourself, right? And it is perseverance. It's having that personality that I will not take no for an answer, right? Thomas Edison was told so many times that the light comes only from candle, right? If Graham Bell was not obsessive about connecting the world through a telephone, right? So anyhow, there's so many things, but I think for me, entrepreneurship is really passion, energy, obsession, eccentricity, resilience, so many keywords, but that's what entrepreneurship is. It's like at the end of the day, doing something for which you get butterflies in your stomach, and also, by the way, while outside it looks a very, very glamorous job, I think it is the most lonely job on earth.
Of course. So it's a complete package that we're looking for as an entrepreneur. Alok, you've been working with young aspiring entrepreneurs and you continue to do this on the show. While we'll get to see a lot more of that during Dropout Private Limited, I actually want to say that if there are a few tips that you could give out on what makes a successful entrepreneur, why don't you just throw some light?
So the show was actually almost like a television reflection of what goes on in real life. And that's what I loved about it, right? Because it was not reality, but reality. It's life coming forward. It's very simple. I think young people today are really sorted, so you don't need to tell them to be themselves. But essentially, there are 3 or 4 key messages that at least we need to keep telling them. One is, it's awesome to fail. It's no longer okay to fail. It's awesome to fail. Because it's when you fail that you really understand what you could have done better. And there are many, many retries. There's always a burning desire to do something, but there has to be a why, which is, a lot of people have ideas, thoughts, concepts, but a lot more questioning needs to be to become a business. And the third thing is, what this show exemplifies is always reach out for help, because you will not have the answers for everything. And we're really proud of this because giving and sharing and letting people learn as I keep calling it, we've got many scars on our back. You have to earn yours, but you can share ours. And by asking for help and asking for, how can I do this, your journey is going to be better. So I think this is phenomenally entrepreneurial. And that's why I love the show so much.
Awesome. That is.
Can I just add something?
Go
for
for
the
it.
longest time, people believed that Silicon Valley had the best entrepreneurs because and innovation happened there because people were allowed to fail. You had to fail to innovate, right?
Yeah.
And China and India were copycat nations because hum darte hain, so we'd only take the copy model. Yeah. MTV, Dropout, changing that. We're actually making failure cool. It has to happen for innovation to happen. And so this is changing that mindset, on a very broad way.
Wow, that is awesome. And thanks for the advice, all of you guys. This is why they are the masters, guys. But before I keep boring you with more questions from my side, I'm going to throw this mic open for you guys. If you guys have any questions for Farzad, for any of them, please, this is your chance.
Seems. There's a lot that goes behind the scenes, which I have now started appreciating. The work, the hard work. Plus, I have the attention span of a gnat. I say 20 minutes in and out. Hair and makeup, for me, were personally the most challenging thing that I did, which required you to sit for an hour before you got to the show. I just want to be done. You want to get there,
So
you
she
want to
was
meet the
tired.
contestants.
By the time she came on set, she was exhausted by hair and makeup.
Rashmi, I think great question. Mine was actually choosing, in real life, you don't choose entrepreneurs. They all are great people. And you keep saying all of you go forth and make everybody proud. And the really hard part of this show and any television show is you got to decide between many and make a few. And that was really hard for me. I couldn't decide how to say no to people. That was terrible.
Do you want an honest answer or? Okay, I think for me, most challenging part was these 2 people who gave me very hard time because we were also a title sponsor. So whenever I got a tea, they thought it had a 1 extra spoon because I'm a sponsor. Whenever I got vada pav, Alok literally counted that how come I got 3 and he only got 1. So I think dealing with that and proving that I'm in the program because of I have done something well in life. That actually did not. Still I think has not gone well, right? And every time when I used to come to the program, I used to change my hair. I used to wear dirty clothes so that I'm not applied as a stereotypical. Okay. So, by the way, after this stage, I want to be can I get some security and protection? Because as it is, I'm not from Mumbai. Okay. No. But serious answer is, Rashmi, actually, that's a very nice question. I think it is largely covered by these 2 people. But honestly, I think I remember 1.5 years back, I started building my penthouse where I currently live. In a hindsight, it was not a good.
To any of you guys is that after having shows like Splitsvilla, Roadies, now you have MTV Dropouts. That's that's going to be depicting the whole startup atmosphere. And how does this fit in the MTV profile, if you want?
Do you want to hear that from any of them, or do you want to hear that from?
I think people take from a show what they want to take. For a lot of people, Roadies is an aggressive show. For a lot of people, it is actually telling you how to stand up for yourself. Okay? It depends on what they take. This show is a very natural extension of what Rudy's has been saying for 15 years, which is don't follow people, be yourself, create your own space, be fearless. Just because it hasn't happened before, trust yourself. Yeah? It is a very logical extension of that. We're making it a little more relevant, a little more topical today. Rudy's is made 14 to 15 years ago. It is still relevant today, but a lot has happened. This generation is dealing with a lot other stuff compared to, a generation 15, 10 years ago. This show does the same thing for this generation. Therefore, this show only can exist on MTV along with Rudy's and Splitsvilla.
And I think just to add to that, I think one very important point of what Raghu just said was MTV's always been the fearless brand, right? Done right from the early phases that the channel had, we were fearless. When we came into the country in the mid-90s, we were fearless. The crazy things that we do on ground, we're fearless. All of the shows that we do, whether it's for sponsors, whether it's shows like Roadies and Splitsvilla, they're fearless shows. What people do need to keep in mind is that the brand has always had a lot of spunk, right? And the beauty is that the brand reaches out to the broadest part of the country, right? Right from the villages, right up to super penthouses in, let's say, Nariman Point, right? It cuts across. When you have this power as a brand, you also have a certain amount of responsibility. And you will have seen that over many years, there would have been different people or different brands or different channels that would have come in and created something which has lived for a long, long time. And that only lives for a long time when it's relevant. Again, like what Raghu was saying, if it's relevant at that particular time, I mean, all our shows have evolved, right? We haven't had Roadies and Splitsvilla running for 15 and 10 years doing the same thing. A lot of it has changed, including the two of them dropping out from Roadies, right? No pun intended, of course. But so you keep evolving with the times, and this show will also evolve. Today, it's in the avatar that you see it. I can promise you this show is here to last a minimum of 10 years. Because the spirit is not changing. The entrepreneurship is going absolutely nowhere except on an upward trajectory. So that's why, if that answers your question.
Hi, this is Shayanti. Dropout is actually relevant for me because I'm here. Yeah. Okay. So Dropout is relevant for me because I used to be a journalist. I quit my job last year and now I'm a blogger, social media influencer, or YouTuber,
awesome.
Whatever you might
You know
call
what?
it.
Yeah.
We celebrate you.
So my challenge as an entrepreneur of sorts is the speed, because the minute it becomes a year, the next best question people want to know is, so what's the progress? Where is the money coming from? And whatever else follows. So though I still have everything else he mentioned as a conviction or self-belief and everything, but these are real parameters, right, at the end of the day, and numbers decide the entire game. So I may be like 2 months old into the game, but if I have like a followers which might list which might be bought or however else put together, I go much ahead of people who are putting whatever effort in the content. So how do you, groom an entrepreneur and make the person more sustainable as far as the industry and the sharks, let's say, are concerned?
Do you have a couple of 1,000 crores worth of entrepreneurs on stage?
First of all, you're not an entrepreneur of sorts. You're an entrepreneur. And second, I think they're coming out with a portal, which I guess MTV can share with you, where there will be mentors on. I think the show is a good parameter of, we cover a lot of these things through the show on, with the contestants. But I think there's also a portal, right? Please share that info, which has all of us talking about it. Because one of the biggest things we heard on the show was everybody that sat down there said, and I believe this too, mentors make a difference. And everybody that sat down said, we are looking for mentorship. So we really hope, and we will be giving time to that portal and, talking about this further. And we can talk about it a little more.
Maybe, but maybe just philosophically addressing your question. Look, I think a lot of time, I personally believe that, in terms of education, background, gender, religious belief, from which place you come, that may cause a little bit of difference in terms of your achievement efforts and things you want to pursue. But I think just knowing that this is possible, I think that exposure is very, very important. You know, this country, until 10 years back, did not have entrepreneurs with whom you could relate to. So, you know, like in this country, there were 4 types of very famous people. One is a cricketer, one is a Bollywood person, third is a politician, and fourth one is a businessman, but he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, right? But if you think about it, what this country has done in last 10 years, it has created local heroes. They all have 2-3 things common. They all come from typical middle class family. None of them were born with a silver spoon in mouth, and they chose cerebral, like you left your journalist career to be a blogger, right? So these 3 things have come together, coming from a middle class family, choosing a cerebral career and kind of pursuing your dream. And this country has now produced a lot of local heroes that you can relate to. And so it's not like that India has changed, but what has changed is a belief that this is possible. You know, I was able to become entrepreneur because Deep Kalra from Make My Trip or Sanjeev Bikechandani from Naukri prior to me did it. And I said, you know, it is no different. If they can, I'm not underestimating their achievement, but I said,
Trade in belief to just the hype that gets talked about, and that's what I think we've done in the show. There's a lot of demystification. Like, there's a concept in your mind which says, I have to be speedy, I have to be fast, I have to serve numbers. And I think it's a demystification that we're really proud of, because we tell a lot of entrepreneurs in the show, this is not really true. And the oldest saying I love is, all that glitters is not gold. So you need to believe in yourself and not the metrics that others have put around them. Because a lot of people get misled because of those momentum and ideas, and I should be funded, and funding is not important. The top 5 Fortune 500 companies in the world never got funded, but they became Fortune 500. So these are things we have to tell people, and that's when younger people especially say, oh, I never thought of that. Just because you read things in the newspaper doesn't mean they're true. So I think the challenge is the stories of people, right? Because it's always their story, not your story. So I think making people realize that your story is unique is really our job. And that's what I'm really proud of. It's your story, not our story.
Thank you so much.
There's a question here and a question there and a question everywhere.
Hey, so I'm sure you guys would have had a long kind of a situation wherein people were obviously going to be an emotional part of it. How difficult was it to choose people? Because like you saw the farmer, and I'm sure that, let's put it that way, some places where you not need to be, and there are places where you are supposed to be. And I've had people coming across to me saying that, okay, you know, we need this, we need that. And when I realized that they're not the people you need, how difficult was it, firstly, to choose those kind of people? And secondly, to actually be a part of their life story?
Can I just start off the response to this? Firstly, the kind of people and the stories that you will meet, that you will find on Dropout Private Limited, are not like what you've been used to seeing on any reality show, okay? These are people who will never go to an audition. They will never go to an audition. They're actually busy trying to figure out venture capitalists or some kind of funding. They've actually done something. They've taken risks, they've failed, but they're trying to do something. It's a very different mindset, okay? These guys have a future, they're going to be achievers. But the real stories of the struggle of parents not believing in you, the system telling you you're going to fail, not knowing how to go about the next step, those frustrations and looking for mentors, those stories are going to come our way. Rajiv and I, we've been obviously in this thing for many years now, decade and a half. We're used to meeting a lot of people, getting their stories, and we know what to expect. I don't think the 3 of them were ready for the amount of stuff that came at them. It was just actually sitting across a table, but it was moving, and some of them had a tough time. It's true. But anyway, yeah.
You know, as an entrepreneur, right? When somebody comes and interviews with us, when you're, angel investing, you don't get to know the personal side, right? This was very different. We had to get to know the person and see the business as well as that. Now, at the end of the day, I think the making of an entrepreneur, there's only one criteria, according to me. That is perseverance, grit. Is this person going to get back up again or not? Okay, I think that is the most crucial criteria for me. And that was what was the deciding factor. It wasn't, you could have the most emotional story. That was not. And you see it come through in the show. But was it tough? Absolutely, because there was no filter. It wasn't like we were looking at a company or we were looking at a person, judging the person on just the business skills. I think this was great for us. It was a very humbling experience. As an entrepreneur, you also kind of sit in your high tower and not realize that, you know of your own struggles and maybe just the people who work with you. This was brilliant to see this. It was very, very touching. I think you see how much it happened.
Yeah, and I'll just add this, I can barely count how many times I have cried in my life. And throughout the season, I was sitting right of Raghu, and I have used his shoulder a lot of time to cry. Thank you for offering the shoulder, Raghu. But no, by the way, I think it's amazing what question you ask while going to this program. I never, probably, maybe I'm very cold and callous, but I never saw this thing coming. And it was amazing. I remember one person who came to the show. He was probably 17 and 18-year-old. He came from a troubled family where he saw his mother getting beaten down by the father every day. And it was amazing that, for him, actually he grew up watching Raghu and Rajiv as their heroes, as his heroes. So one, he was entrepreneur, but I think for him, the closure of his life so that he can move on was also actually to meeting them. So, like seeing that. And then there were a lot of other stories. There were a lot of stories. There was this girl who was one of the 6 sisters, got neglected, come from a smaller village, left home very early. And it's a story how she rebounded. Every odd against her, how she fought back. So, I think while the program is called Dropout, but I feel very fortunate to see a lot of heroes, real heroes.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so we have time for just one last question. Who's it going to be? That boy out there.
Hi, and first of all, congratulations for launching this new show.
Thank you.
It's actually really great to see that the mainstream media is bringing attention to this, because it has always been an ignored topic when it comes to the Indian market and as well as being the Indian population as a whole. So my question is, how did you define a dropout? Did it actually mean someone who has left college suddenly, or is it someone like your promo said, someone who is tired of the system? And did the contestants already have an idea and were actually implementing it, or did they start doing it after joining the show?
Sorry, what's your name?
Shivam.
Shivam. Shivam, I think that's a phenomenal question. Okay, it's a great question. To be honest, we spent 9 months, and I kid you, I'm not exaggerating to make a point, and we had some rather ugly fights, some that you've seen on some of our other shows before. It was like one of those auditions, where Raghu, Rajiv, myself, our entire content team, and a few other people, we got into serious debates as to who is a dropout, right? One school of thought told us, let's just take people who failed in college or school. But that would be limiting, right? Because we're not here to celebrate people who don't make it through in academia. That's not the objective of the show, right? So dropout for us, and if you see our marketing campaign all over the country, right? You'll have various things. You have people who've dropped out from a job, people who've dropped out from the education system. It also includes people who may have been an IIM topper, but they've dropped out from the conventional way and not gone into just being, the regular corporate or a doctor or lawyer because it's a family profession. So they've dropped out of a system in some sense. So the word dropout private limited is an extremely broad word for us and never to be limiting. And I think that is really what the beauty of the concept is.
Okay, so, okay, fine, let's go for it.
So I'm an engineer, I'm a 4th year engineer. So
I'm very sorry, man. Sorry to hear that. How many more years are you going to waste?
I'm in the final year last.
Waste?
Yeah, just one last year.
You sure you're going to waste it?
Yeah, I have to waste it. I have to get the degree,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So that's my point exactly. So a lot of people have to do engineering just to get the degree, but they have a lot of ideas in their mind and they want to open their own startup after the engineering ends. So is there any scope for those students like me? Like
What
yeah.
would be the
Yes,
regular?
there is.
What would be the regular route for you otherwise? Once you finish engineering, what would 90% of your batch be doing?
Getting into the mass recruiters company?
Right?
Exactly.
If you don't do that,
Yeah.
right, and you do your own piece, you have some ideas, you want to do it, you're a dropout man,
Okay.
right? We'll celebrate you.
So,
that's
is there any
exactly what it
scope
means.
for those students who are in engineering itself now to come into the show?
I'll tell you. Firstly, Indians are scared people. We have this thing of saying, what if something goes wrong? What if your parents have that. Your parents forced you to do engineering because that's what they wanted to be when they were younger or something like that. Very sad for you, but it's true. You're not the only one. It's the story of the country. This generation is not afraid. I would say if you're in a course or a job where you do not see fulfillment, you do not see passion, success, happiness, whatever, walk away. Walk away because you think right now one of the things of your age is that you think you have a lot of time, which you do, but it's not as much as you think. You can finish your degree and then do what with it? Nothing, right? You will do your own thing. Walk away. Do it. We are actually, I hope watching this show gives some people, inspires some people to take that hard call, to save those 6 months or 1.5 years and go out and spend those 1.5 years failing somewhere so that you are primed for success. So drop out. Don't waste your time. Drop out.
Okay, I guess we've got a lot of questions answered and some motivation out there for you guys. We're going to take one final photo op without the
पसंद करते हैं हर रोज़ आप मानेंगे नहीं हर रोज़ सोशल मीडिया पे हमें कोई ना कोई बोलता है कि आप प्रोड्यूस पे वापस आ जाइए प्रोड्यूस हमारे लिए बहुत ही हमारा बच्चा है और हमें प्यार है उस शो से मगर हम वापस नहीं जा सकते क्योंकि वापस जाना उन सब चीज़ों के खिलाफ होगा जो हमने आज तक बच्चों को बताया है कि अपने कंफर्ट जोन में मत जाओ। रोडीज़ अब एक कंफर्ट जोन बन चुका है, लेकिन हम रोडीज़ हो या स्पिट्सविला हो, हमें इस चीज़ पे हम प्राउड फील करते हैं कि हम ऐसे प्रॉपर्टीज़, हम ब्रांड्स ऐसे बनाते हैं, हम ऐसे शो लेके आते हैं जो ओरिजिनल हो और जो दुनिया में किसी ने देखा ना हो और जिसे यंग लोग बिल्कुल आइडेंटिफाई करें और देखना पसंद करें। वैसे ही ड्रॉप आउट प्राइवेट लिमिटेड है। लोगों को अगर मैं और राजीव रोडीज़ में किसी जिनको पसंद आए, जिस वजह से पसंद आए, उसी वजह से वो ड्रॉप आउट भी देखें और उन्हें ड्रॉप आउट उसी वजह से पसंद आएगा, क्योंकि हम वही वैसी ही बातें कर रहे हैं जैसा हमने रोडीज़ में की थी। मगर यहाँ साथ में आप अगर देखेंगे तो एक स्टार्टअप कैसे करना, एंटरप्रेन्योर कैसे बनना है, इसके बारे में भी ऐसी चीज़ें आपको पता चलेंगी जो आज इंडिया में कोई स्कूल नहीं सिखा रहा।
सो ड्रॉप आउट
वो ये जो कह रहा था, मेरा आवाज़ कर ड्रॉप आउट जो लफ्ज़ है उसके ऊपर बहुत एक स्टिग्मा है,
बदनाम है वो ड्रॉप आउट मतलब फेलियर।
ड्रॉप आउट सो हमारा इतना एजुकेशन सिस्टम इतना स्ट्रॉन्ग है कि ड्रॉप आउट को लोग पसंद नहीं करते। हम वो चीज़ बताना चाहते हैं।
ओके, सो ड्रॉप आउट ही क्यों नाम रखा? बिकॉज हम देख रहे हैं काफ़ी टैलेंटेड लोग इसमें आ रहे हैं।
मैं और राजीव हमेशा मुख्य धारा से थोड़ा अलग, मेन स्ट्रीम से थोड़ा अलग लेके एक नया मेन स्ट्रीम बनाना चाहते हैं। हम हमेशा उन लोगों की तरफ बात करते हैं जो अंडरडॉग्स कहलाए जाते हैं, जिनके लिए सिस्टम शायद काम नहीं कर रहा, ठीक है, जिनको लोग समझते नहीं कि ये कुछ कर सकते हैं। रोडीज़ में भी हमारी यही कोशिश थी कि हम ऐसे लड़कों को ढूंढें, ऐसे लड़कियों को ढूंढें जो चाहे दुनिया उनके बारे में कुछ भी बोले, इनकी हिम्मत नहीं टूटती। वैसे ही लोग हम यहाँ ढूंढ रहे हैं। ड्रॉप आउट हमारे लिए बहुत ज़रूरी है, क्योंकि अगर आपके पास डिग्री है, अगर आपके पास नौकरी है, अगर आपके पास, तो आप कर लीजिए, आप कर लीजिए।
टॉपर प्राइवेट, आपको मज़ा आता है उस नाम से?
टॉपर प्राइवेट लिमिटेड में कोई ड्रामा नहीं है, कुछ नहीं है। ड्रॉप आउट जो है एक अंडरडॉग स्टोरी है और मैं और राजीव हमेशा इंडियन यूथ पे बिलीव करते हैं और हम ऐसे लोग ढूंढते हैं जो दुनिया बदल सकें और इसलिए ये कर रहे हैं।
ओके, शो के अंदर क्या क्या होने वाला है एंड किस तरीके
शो में दो हिस्से हैं। पहला ऑडिशन है, जैसे आपने रोडीज़ का ऑडिशन देखे वैसे ऑडिशन है। मैं और राजीव, हमारे साथ आलोक केजरीवाल, संदीप अग्रवाल और अनीशा सिंह, जो बहुत बड़े बड़े एंटरप्रेन्योर्स हैं, ये 3 हैं। तो यहाँ हम अलग अलग लोग आके अपनी कहानी बताते हैं, उनको हम एंटरप्रेन्योरियल क्वालिटीज़ पे टेस्ट करते हैं। ये क्या है एंटरप्रेन्योरियल क्वालिटीज़, ये भी बच्चों को लड़कियों को देखने में मज़ा आएगा और देखना चाहेंगे वो। ये पहला है जहाँ हम सेलेक्ट करते हैं। सेलेक्ट करने के बाद एक शो शुरू होगा जहाँ इनको अलग अलग सिचुएशंस में, अलग अलग कंपनीज में काम करने को मिलेगा, अलग अलग एलिमिनेशन होंगे और जो बचेंगे वो आगे जाके कंपनी उनकी देगी।
सो ऑडिशन पीरियड कैसा रहा? हमने कुछ
ऑडिशन बहुत ही अलग थे इसके। हमें आदत है रोडीज़ के ऑडिशन की, मगर यहाँ पर जैसे लड़के आ रहे हैं और यहाँ जैसी बातें हो रही हैं, ऐसी बातें आज तक नहीं हुई। 15 साल में रोडीज़ की आज तक नहीं हुई। ये एक आज के लिए बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग, इससे ज़्यादा मैं क्या कहूँ, मतलब आपको देखना पड़ेगा कि जब हम आइडियाज़ के बारे में बात नहीं करते, जब हम दिल के बारे में बात करते हैं, जज्बात के बारे में बात करते हैं, जब हम बात करते हैं काबिलियत की, तो क्या कॉन्वर्जेशन आता है, क्या पर्सनालिटीज़ निकल के आते हैं और क्या इंटरेक्शन होता है वो।
जिस तरीके से आप लोगों ने रोडीज़ में लोगों की लगाई है, जो कंटेस्टेंट आए हैं, तो उसमें इस तरीके से उसमें होगा कुछ ना कुछ।
देखिए, जिस तरह से लोग हमें मिलते हैं वैसे मिलते हैं, वैसे हम भी वैसे ही मिलते हैं। कई लोग हैं जो अकड़ में आते हैं, जो अपने आप को बहुत बड़े, कई लोग हैं जो एक्टर हैं, वो ऑडिशन समझ के आ गए हैं, तो उनको सुननी पड़ी है ऑब्वियसली, क्योंकि हमारे साथ लोगों का भी टाइम वेस्ट होता है इसमें। मगर जैसे मैं कह रहा हूँ कि ऐसी बातचीत इससे पहले हुई नहीं है। तो आपको जो चीज़ें पसंद हैं, अगर लोगों की बैंड बज रही है, आपको वो पसंद है, वो भी आपको देखने को मिलेगा, लेकिन उससे ज़्यादा आपको एक ऑनेस्ट इंटरेक्शन देखने को मिलेगा जहां आप खुद को देख सकते हैं इस शो में और इस चैनल पे।
So, कितना डिफरेंट?
मैं नर्वस बिल्कुल भी नहीं हूँ। मेरे साथ 3 ऐसे लोग हैं, मेरा राजू के साथ आलोक, अनीशा और संदीप, जिन्होंने एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप में महारत हासिल की हुई है। हमें डरने की कोई बात नहीं, हमने सही लोगों को लेके आ गए हम। उसके अलावा हमें विश्वास है हमारे फॉलोअर्स पे, जो समझते हैं कि हम रोडीज़ में 10-15 साल से क्या कह रहे थे और उस चीज़ को मिस करते हैं, क्योंकि वो आज की डेट में इंडियन टेलीविजन में कोई नहीं कह रहा। मेरे को ज़रा भी डाउट नहीं है इस कॉन्सेप्ट के ऊपर या जो कंटेस्टेंट हैं उनके ऊपर। मैं बहुत कॉन्फिडेंट हूँ
कि लोग ये शो देखेंगे और जो भी देखेंगे वो पसंद आएगा।
So किस बेसिस में सिलेक्शन हो रही है?
सिलेक्शन होता है एंटरप्रेन्योरियल क्वालिटीज़ पे। हमारे ना स्कूल कॉलेज भी सिखाते नहीं है कि एंटरप्रेन्योरियल क्वालिटीज़ क्या होते हैं। रिस्क लेना, हार ना मानना, फेलियर से ना डरना, अलग तरह की सोच रखना, सबसे ज़्यादा मेहनत कर पाना, जुगाड़ करना, ये सब एंटरप्रेन्योरियल क्वालिटीज़ है जो हमारे स्कूल में नहीं पकड़ते कि अरे इसमें ये क्वालिटीज़ है, इसके ये क्वालिटीज़ डेवलप करेंगे तो एक अच्छा एंटरप्रेन्योर बन सकता है। ऐसा हमारे स्कूल में नहीं है, मगर एंटरप्रेन्योर जानते हैं कि ये क्वालिटीज़ क्या हैं और यही क्वालिटीज़ पे हम
So सर काफ़ी दिन बाद आप दिख रहे हैं MTV पे, तो क्या है ये एक्चुअल ड्रॉप आउट?
मेरी और राजीव की ना MTV से एक पहचान जुड़ी हुई है। लोग हमें MTV के थ्रू जानते हैं एक्चुअली, और एक अलग तरीके से जानते हैं क्योंकि हम जो करते हैं वो इससे पहले कोई करता नहीं था। अब एक शो है वो रोडीज वो चल रहा है, मगर हम वहाँ से अलग हो चुके हैं क्योंकि अब हमारा दिल कुछ और कहता है। वो एक कंफर्ट जोन बन गया था जो हम रोडीज पे भी कहते हैं कि आप कंफर्ट मत कीजिए, छोड़ के अपने पैशन को फॉलो करने की हिम्मत रखिए। हमने भी वही किया, हमने रोडीज छोड़ा, अपना कंपनी शुरू किया मोनोजाइगोटिक, और ऐसे एक शो को लेके आ रहे हैं जो इसी के बारे में है। सेफ्टी को छोड़ के अपने पैशन को फॉलो करना, ड्रॉप आउट करना। सेफ्टी को छोड़ना मतलब ये होता है ड्रॉप आउट करना, और आई एम अ ड्रॉप आउट बिकॉज ऑफ कोर्स कॉलेज की पढ़ाई तो है ही, बट सेफ्टी छोड़ के हमने एक नई शुरुआत की है हिम्मत के साथ, एंड दैट्स व्हाट दिस स्टोरी इज। दिस इज अ स्टोरी ऑफ अंडरडॉग्स डेयरिंग टू ड्रॉप आउट एंड सक्सीड।
So don't you think every person are a dropout one kind?
No, everybody is not a dropout. You may not like the engineering degree that you have, but if you are doing that job, you haven't dropped out. You are part of the system. आपको सिस्टम बोलता है कि स्कूल में जाओ, कॉलेज जाओ, यूनिवर्सिटी जाओ, नौकरी करो, प्रमोशन लो। आप उस सिस्टम में जब तक हैं आप ड्रॉप आउट नहीं है। आप छोड़ के तो आइए, बाहर निकलिए। आपको क्या करना है? ब्लॉग लिखना है आप वो लिखिए, फोटोग्राफी करनी है आप वो कीजिए, गाने बनाने हैं आप वो कीजिए, लेकिन सेफ्टी उसकी छोड़ के। रोडीज और ड्रॉप आउट में ये भाई हैं, ये दोनों रिलेटेड हैं एक तरह से, दोनों एक ही बात कह रहे हैं। रोडीज कह रहा है कि ड्रॉप आउट कह रहा है कि दुनिया चाहे तुम्हें कुछ भी बोले, तुम्हें अपने आप पे भरोसा है तो आगे बढ़ो और वो करो जो तुम चाहते हो। एक है ट्रैवल और एडवेंचर के बारे में, और लेकिन ये जो है ये एक्चुअली करियर के बारे में, ये एक्चुअली एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप के बारे में, जिससे आपकी ज़िंदगी, आपकी फैमिली की ज़िंदगी और सोसाइटी, इंडिया बदल सकती है।
So किस बेसिस पे ऑडिशन हो रहे हैं और क्या इसका फुल लाइक ऑडिशन है, उसके बाद क्या होने वाला है?
देखिए अभी आप ड्रूम है या पेटीएम है या फ्लिपकार्ट है, इनके जो CEOs हैं, इन्होंने ऐसा कोई कोर्स नहीं किया हुआ जिससे ये सक्सीड होंगे। एंटरप्रेन्योर बनने के लिए और सक्सीड होने के लिए कुछ एंटरप्रेन्योरियल क्वालिटीज़ होते हैं, जैसे रिस्क लेना, फेलियर से ना डरना, अतरंग जुगाड़ करना, हार ना मानना, ये चीज़ें एक एंटरप्रेन्योरियल क्वालिटीज़ होती है। और ये जो क्वालिटीज़ हैं ये कोई स्कूल कॉलेज बताता नहीं है। आपका सवाल क्या था, मैं भूल गया, सॉरी।
क्या होगा?
क्या होगा?
ऑडिशन एंड
देश भर में से हम लोग चुनेंगे, वो एक दूसरे को जानते नहीं है, क्वालिफाइड नहीं है। उन्होंने कुछ कोशिश की है अपनी कंपनी खड़ी करने की, मगर वो भी बर्बाद हो चुका है, उनके पास कुछ नहीं है। उनको ले जाके हम हर हफ्ते अलग अलग कंपनीज में ले जाके उनकी एक रियल प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व कराएंगे और उनमें से एक को हम एलिमिनेट करेंगे। जो आखिरी में कुछ लोग बच जाएंगे उनको मौका मिलेगा इंडिया का पहला स्टार्टअप जो नेशनल टेलीविजन पर बना है, और उनको फंडिंग, उनको बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स बहुत मेंटरिंग एंड गाइडेंस भी मिलेगा। सो एक कंपनी बनेगी।
सो काफ़ी बिग एंटरप्रेन्योर्स हैं आपके साथ,
Yes.
तो उनके साथ एक्सपीरियंस कैसा रहा आप लोगों का?
इसी एंटरप्रेन्योर्स लोग सोचते हैं कि बड़े अजीब होते हैं, वो एक्चुअली पागल होते हैं। एंटरप्रेन्योर्स पागल होते हैं, और वो हमें बहुत पसंद आया, हमें पागल बनना बहुत पसंद है।
आपका कैसा एक्सपीरियंस रहा?
देखिए मैं आपको बताता हूँ कि जब कोई रियलिटी शो में जज बन के आता है ना, तो उनके दिमाग में बहुत चीज़ें होती है कि मेरे को ऐसे बैठना है, मेरे को ऐसे बोलना है या ये नहीं बोलना। हमने इनके साथ एक ही वर्कशॉप किया था और उनको ये बोला था कि कुछ मत सोचो, सोचने का काम नहीं है, तुम फील करो और जैसे जो मन में आता है वो करो। आप इन्हें देखेंगे आप हिल जाएंगे, इतने ऑनेस्टली, इतने नेचुरल तरीके से इन्होंने किया है कि एक्चुअली जो लोग आएंगे लेकिन हमें देखने के लिए, हो सकता है मेरे को राजीव को ज़्यादा लोग जानते हैं, MTV के ऑडियंस आएंगे वो हमारे लिए, मगर रुकेंगे वो इनके लिए, अनीशा, आलोक और संदीप के लिए, क्योंकि ये जो बातें कर रहे हैं ना, ये इंडिया के लिए बहुत ज़रूरी है।
सो रोडीज में तो आपने बहुतों की लगाई है, तो इसमें कितना स्ट्रिक्टनेस बरकरार होने वाली है?
देखिए, स्ट्रिक्टनेस की ज़रूरत जहाँ है हम स्ट्रिक्ट रहते हैं, ठीक है। ये काम जो है बहुत सीरियस है, इसमें बहुत लोगों का खूब सारा पैसा लगा हुआ है, जो एक फंडिंग भी होगी उसमें बहुत लोगों का पैसा लगा हुआ है, तो ये हंसी मजाक नहीं है, ठीक है। हम आपको मौका देंगे, वो कहते हैं ना कि भगवान छप्पर फाड़ के देगा, लेकिन तबीयत से लेगा भी फिर बाद में वापस। तो चक्कर यही है कि जहाँ लोग सीरियसली ना ले रहे हों या अपनी गलतियाँ मान नहीं रहे हों, क्योंकि गलती मानना बहुत ज़रूरी है, अगर आप गलती समझोगे ही नहीं तो सुधरोगे कैसे, तो वहाँ पर ऑब्वियसली हमारा रवैया है ही वैसा, और मेरे ख्याल से उसकी ज़रूरत भी है।
सो काफ़ी प्रोमोज हमने देखे हैं, काफ़ी हिट भी जा रहे हैं, सबको बहुत पसंद आया, तो आप क्या कहना चाहेंगे अपने फैंस और व्यूवर्स को जो इतना लव एंड अफेक्शन है?
मेरे को राजीव को पिछले 3 साल से हर रोज़ ट्विटर पे, फेसबुक पे, इंस्टाग्राम पे लोग कहते हैं कि वो हमें रूडीज़ पे मिस करते हैं, MTV पे मिस करते हैं, और अब वो चाहते हैं कि हम वापस आएँ अपने अंदाज आगे, और अब हम चाहते हैं कि आप देखें और हमें बताएं कि आप अब भी हमारे साथ हैं।